shot scored! Do it again, shot scored! Do it again, skate into the ice, 1,000 miles an hour, go for my guy in a nuclear war, shot scored! Do it again, shot scored! Do it again, skate into the ice, across the left view, pass it right back, and I'll put it in the net, shot scored! Shot scored! Shot scored! Shot scored!
Hi everybody, welcome to this edition of Inside Hockey TV alongside Editor-in-Chief Kevin Greenstein. I'm your host, McKenzie Lavoie. Well, we're going to look at our Atlantic Division trade preview with the trade deadline fast approaching. Now, we again talked in our previous segment about buyers, sellers, and teams in the middles. Now, our buyer in the Atlantic Division is the New Jersey Devils. How are they going to approach March 4th?
Well, you know, the Devils have absolutely blown me away this season with what they've been able to accomplish, despite not having Martin Brodeur between the pipes. I mean, for years, we've basically considered Martin Brodeur to be the anchor, the backbone, the reason why the Devils continue to be a competitive team, despite losing Scott Gomez and Scott Stevens and Scott Niedermayer, lots of Scotts. So the Devils are still competitive even without Brodeur this year, largely because of the play of Scott Clemenson. He's been a huge surprise.
Well, Scott Clemenson, obviously a BC kid who came out of BC, won a national championship. His whole career, kind of under the radar, went unnoticed, but he's a solid goaltender. He plays very well. Now, when Brodeur was out, he stepped up, filled the role. He did a very good job, but the question is, if Brodeur comes back, are they going to keep him?
Well, the interesting thing about Clemenson is now he's proven that he can do it, so there's actually going to be some demand for his services. And it'll be interesting to see as the deadline approaches whether the Devils want to keep that security that Clemenson provides them, knowing full well that he'll probably be gone next season, or whether they want to take their chances and maybe trade Clemenson to help them bring something aboard that can help them make a run for the cup with Brodeur between the pipes.
Now, New Jersey has $2.251 million in cap space, which translates into a little bit over 10 left to sign players. Who do you think they could acquire or trade to get that depth that they're looking for?
Well, you know, the rumors are certainly going to fly that Scott Niedermayer might make a return to New Jersey. I mean, he left, he went to the Ducks, he won a Stanley Cup, he got to play alongside his brother Rob, all that wonderful stuff. But he's played most of his career for the New Jersey Devils, and it might be interesting to see if he would come back to New Jersey and give the Devils a better chance at the Cup this season. Niedermayer would be a huge impact player for them, and given the cap space situation, they can't afford him, especially if they're able to package a player going back in the other direction to make the dollars a little bit more even. So I think Niedermayer would be an interesting choice for the Devils. Upgrading their offense might also be another way to go. They've got some good talent there, Zach Parise, Patrick Elias, Travis Zajac, but they could certainly stand to add some more offensive talent to help take a little bit of the heat off Brodeur when he comes back.
Now, right up the border to New York, we're going to look at the New York Islanders as our sellers. Now, they've had a tough season coming into it, not playing as well as anyone would like. DiPietro's out again. How are they going to approach this year, and what are they going to do?
Well, you know, in the Northeast segment that we did, we talked about a team making the mistake about building around three forwards. The Islanders are in an opposite situation entirely. They've actually done the right thing. They're building around a goaltender, Rick DiPietro, who's one of the best athletes in the league. He is priced reasonably, under $5 million a year, so he's not a big cap hit that they can't afford to handle year after year. So they've done all the right things, but unfortunately they don't have any of the surrounding pieces. And compounding matters, DiPietro's been getting injured every single year.
Constantly, yeah. And he has a 15-year contract, I think.
Yep.
At $65
about 60 million, a little bit over 60,
Yeah. So how do you, I mean, he can't really get traded because no one wants a player with, especially a goaltender with a history of a groin injury. You know, how do you perceive him? How do you market that? So who can they bring in to sort of step up and fix the situation that they're in right now?
Well, the thing that I would do if I was the Islanders is that I would try and figure out ways to turn Doug Weight, Bill Guerin, and Brendan Witt into 2 or 3 super high-quality young forward prospects who may not be ready to make a huge impact at the NHL level this year, but could help them down the road. And the trade that I'd be looking for the Islanders is maybe one a little similar to the one that the Dallas Stars made about 15 years ago when they sent Jarome Iginla to Calgary in exchange for Joe Nieuwendyk. At the time, Jarome Iginla wasn't really going to be able to do much for the Stars in their run to the Cup. They won the Cup in 2000. I think that this is a very similar kind of situation.
The track that they want to get on? Well, in our middle teams that could go either way, buy or sell, we have the Rangers, we have the Flyers, and we have the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, the Pittsburgh Penguins on paper are an unbelievable roster to look at. You've got Crosby, Malkin, you've got Gonchar, Whitney, Marc-Andre Fleury. How do you improve that team, what already looks to be unbelievable? Because when they get everyone back healthy and past the injuries, you know, they're going to be a contender for the Stanley Cup again.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got some good young talent, but they made a big trade last year to bring in Hossa that cost them quite dearly. I don't think that the Penguins are going to be too aggressive at the trade deadline because they have to be cognizant of the fact that the salary cap's probably not going to go up. And if they want to be able to retain this core of great talent that they've put together, they really can't bring any salaries on the books that are going to jeopardize that. And
that trade last year that involved Colby Armstrong going to the Thrashers, actually, I think Hossa had a torn ACL, so he was unable to play until the playoffs. So that's probably something they want to avoid doing again, especially when you're paying someone $7 million. Now, the Flyers and the Rangers. The Flyers are doing great so far. Carter's playing very well. Everything's going good for them. How do you feel about the Rangers and Drury and having those guys on a team?
Well, you know, I think the Rangers made some interesting moves to build around Henrik Lundqvist, bringing in Chris Drury, bringing in Scott Gomez. They're definitely a team on the smaller side. They're a team constructed for today's NHL. They haven't really gelled yet to the degree that they need to if they're going to be considered a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. Nikolai Zherdev is an unbelievable talent. He might be the most important forward on the Rangers roster, and that he is a real game breaker. But if they don't figure out a way to consistently get him the puck and get him opportunities to score, it's going to be very difficult for the Rangers down the stretch because they're lacking that physicality, that aggression that Sean Avery certainly brought to the table. It'll be interesting to see if Avery comes back to New York, what he's able to bring, how he's received in the locker room. We know that the fans will love him, but we don't know what else to expect with regard to Avery. You look at this Rangers team, and I think it just needs a little bit more bite. It doesn't have enough bite to it.
Well, in terms of how fast that deadline is approaching, do you think the Rangers will end up being a buyer or a seller?
I think the Rangers are always buyers, theoretically. Cap space is going to be an issue for them. They wasted some cap space earlier on in the season, and that's going to come back to haunt them because it's going to limit what they can do at the deadline. I think that the Rangers are in a bit of a tough bind, but getting Avery, especially if they're able to get him at half price, if the Dallas Stars put him through re-entry waivers and the Rangers claim him and that whole thing goes through as planned for, if that happens, then Avery can provide some of the bite that they need, but I don't know that it'll be enough even with him.
Do you think Avery's transition into the Rangers coming in, of what he went through with Dallas, with the teammates and the problems that they had, do you think that's going to affect the Rangers' season?
You know, it's really hard to say. The last time the Rangers acquired Avery, I thought that he was exactly what they needed. You could make the case that he is today exactly what they need. But a lot has happened since then. He has a history with the Rangers, and he has this history with the Stars that people are going to be looking at. He's going to be under the microscope, and I'm just not sure how he's going to handle it. It'll be interesting to see. If he handles it well, he could be exactly what the Rangers need.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for watching this edition of InsideHockey.tv. We hope to see you right back here at Studio 7-3 in downtown Boston for our next edition.